Today on the podcast, I'm joined by Michael Moore, the newly appointed president of Stamford Downtown, the city's largest business improvement district and one of the most dynamic neighborhoods. Home to over 13,000 residents, drawing more than 1.3 million visitors a year. He has more than 25 years of experience in economic and community development, and he's held leadership roles across the state and most recently served as VP of Operations in Stamford Downtown. Now, he's president of Stamford Downtown. Please welcome my guest, Michael Moore.
All right.
What do you think of that?
Thanks, guys. I love that. I didn't even know all that about me. That's great. Thank you for this is the second episode, right? This
second
is great.
episode, yeah.
And we're in the Hey Stamford lair. I love it.
Stamford, the store, Hey Stamford podcast in Stamford Downtown at the Stamford Town Center.
Absolutely. It doesn't get more downtown. I love it.
Let me ask you this. Are you a podcast fan? Do you have a favorite podcast?
I'm a huge podcast fan because I take the train to and from work.
Yep.
So on the way home is my podcast time.
Yep.
So I'm addicted to a podcast called Rewatchables. And I think the Rewatchables, it's hosted by Bill Simmons, who's a sports writer formerly with ESPN. And they review, every week they review a new film, right? It's
That's
very
great.
casual. It's very fun. It's lighthearted.
Yep.
But I would say it's going to be third behind the Hey Stamford podcast and Mike Squire's podcast
There you
after
go.
this, man.
Two local favorites.
Absolutely.
I like
Go
it.
local.
There you go.
Thanks for having me on. This is
I'm
cool.
glad you're here. When I thought of some top guests in Stamford that I wanted to have on, you were top of that list. So thank you for being here.
Appreciate that. I'm blushing.
This episode is brought to you by Juice Kings. What started as a small juice spot has now become a local staple for healthy living. Their expanded menu features handcrafted superfood smoothies, acai bowls, cold-pressed juices, wellness shots, nourishing snacks, and more. They even cater corporate events. Juice Kings has always believed in the power of healthy eating, and the team aims to inspire the community to live well. And while you're there, don't forget to pick up Hey Stamford's Finest, named after yours truly, featuring a nutritious blend of banana, mango, strawberry, pineapple, and apple. Juice Kings is located at 36 Atlantic Street. For more, visit juice-kings.com. Looking for a place where your dog can feel safe, loved, and pampered while you're away? K9 Resorts Luxury Pet Hotel in Stamford offers award-winning care in a state-of-the-art facility designed with your pet's comfort in mind. Whether it's a fun-filled day of play or an overnight stay in a premium suite, your dog will enjoy personalized attention, climate-controlled rooms, and top-tier safety standards from trained professionals who treat every pet like their family. Discover why so many pet parents trust them with their furry loved ones. Visit k9resorts.com/Stamford and give your dog the luxury they deserve. How did you get to Stamford? How did you get into this role? Let's talk about your history a little bit.
Sure. So I've been with the organization for about 8 years. I've been in this role for about 9 months. Previously, I was the head of what you call public realm operations.
Okay.
All our public realm beautification and activation projects and maintenance projects outside, like our landscaping, any capital improvements that we undertake. And prior to this, actually my professional story starts in Danbury. I'm a Danbury resident.
Okay.
And what's fascinated me about Connecticut and Connecticut cities, and certainly Stamford, is the fact that Connecticut cities really developed around typically a single industry, right? In Danbury, Danbury is very well known as for being the hat city of the world, right? And here in Stamford, we know the lock city, right?
Yep.
And other cities, Waterbury is known for the brass city and defense munitions in Bridgeport. And what happens to the city and the town when you have a structural change in that industry and the industry moves away, what was served as the economic base for the city and the town, and what happens and how do you rebuild that economy? So I've always been fascinated with that challenge, and I always wanted to stay in Connecticut and help being part of addressing those challenges. I started with the State Department of Economic and Community Development. I worked in the kind of the background of the State Department of Economic and Community Development is called DECD, and it takes a heavy role in investing in infrastructure and economic development projects throughout the state. And I was kind of more of a back office role then, but I got to observe what the state's role is in helping to revitalize communities. I spent time eight years with the Norwalk Redevelopment Agency.
Okay.
Yeah, and we're working in various capacities there. Their community development, led their community development efforts, oversaw our brownfields program, affordable housing, was very heavily involved with affordable housing initiatives. And then I had the opportunity to lead this Bridgeport Downtown Special Services District.
Yeah.
So I was there for 6 years, and that was a great experience. Had a wonderful time. And we started a lot of initiatives there. We did a lot of placemaking activities around the public realm there. The historic green called McClevey Green right in the heart of downtown. We did a lot of placemaking there to help serve as connections, help serve and build personal connections in downtown, activate the space, make it more attractive. Unfortunately, Bridgeport can have a negative public perception, which is super unfortunate because there's so many positive things going on there.
Right.
I met great people there. I was very happy. I got a great experience. We had a concert series. You know, we helped produce a concert series, which was a lot of fun. And then I was introduced to certainly Sandy Goldstein, who is one of my predecessors in this role.
Yeah, started the role.
A legend in Stamford and throughout my industry, running business improvement districts. And I was able to take the role of John Rutolo, who retired in 2017 and was very supportive of me, invited me to come to Stamford, and both he and Sandy were great to work with. And so I've been in this role for about 8 years.
Right. Wow.
Love every second of it.
Yeah, that's great. And you started in this role. What did that entail? How did you first kind of make your impact in Stamford? What did your role entail?
Yeah, it's interesting. When I was in Bridgeport, we somewhat did a reset on the organization and its programming and reevaluating its program and somewhat starting new, whereas everything here in Stamford was going 100 miles an hour at the time. And there's great programming. You know, we're very well known. We were known very well for Alive at 5 and the parade that we produce. But John had done a great job in we do daily curbside cleanup, and we do landscaping and power washing, and all things to make the downtown environment feel welcome and safe and inviting. And so really picking up, stepping in where John had left off.
Yep.
That was priority number one. And, really getting to know stakeholders in downtown, property owners and business owners and residents. You know, that was priority one as well. It took a little time to adjust, but it's fun to get to know everyone.
Right. I mean, there's a great team within the DSSD, Stamford Downtown, that are always happy, smiling at events and around and present downtown, including the ambassadors that you see wearing, like the orange shirts around town. So that's always great to see. When most people think of downtown, they probably just think of the events, the Alive at 5s or some of those, Brews on Bedford, those type of events. But there is a lot more that goes on behind the scenes that you probably don't pay attention. The normal person probably doesn't pay attention to every day. You're
true. And before I respond to that real quick, I just want to bring up or kind of respond to your point about the team. I'm very fortunate that I was able to join a team that is well established, super passionate about their work and about the organization and about downtown, and a lot of great experience, a lot of talent. Strong skill sets, and it was great to be able to join them. And a lot of folks have stayed with the organization. And that's great. That's a great advantage for the organization and also for downtown.
That's wonderful.
So it's great to work with them. Yeah, it's interesting. Our organization, I'm going to hope I don't make you fall asleep, but a little bit about the background of the organization. We're in Connecticut, we're called a Downtown Special Services District. Commonly outside of Connecticut, they're referred to as business improvement districts.
Okay.
Very common in urban settings throughout the country and internationally too. And business improvement districts are created as a function of the property owners in downtown. And we supplement city services. So the city does a great job of care and maintenance of sidewalks and infrastructure, lighting infrastructure, roadway infrastructure. Whereas what we do is we help supplement that. We invest, we have 4 core functions. We function by investing in the public realm, right? So what does that mean? Sidewalks, parks, publicly accessible spaces within buildings as well. And what we tried is we take them from good to great or great to excellent. What we invest in landscape beautification. We have over 60 planters that we manage. We have over 260 hanging baskets that we just installed this week, actually. Nice. We manage 20 gardens and 5 parks in downtown. We've started working with the city on urban forestry, trying to build the tree canopy in downtown.
Great.
And making sure trees are healthy. They're a great part of making downtown welcome and inviting, and shade is so important now with what we see with global warming. Mm-hmm. So we do a lot with the environment and in the setting. We also, yes, we were very well known for our events, but we also do quite a bit with public safety. We work very closely with partners like the Stamford Police Department and with the city and we also work, we've added a social service component in the last couple of years. We contract with Pacific House, which helps with case management and outreach to folks who are homeless or at risk of homelessness. We work very closely with Domus in downtown as well.
Great.
They help with our outreach to some of the youth that come to downtown. Stanford High is proximate to downtown, as you know.
Yeah, right.
You being a Stanford High alum.
I'm a Crusader, by the way. Just to set that straight. I'm a Trinity Catholic Crusader.
Oh, you didn't know that? I thought
green
you were
and gold.
High
Green
guy.
and gold in my blood.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Look at it. I just learned something about PJ. So, public safety is a big part of what we do.
Right.
We do a lot of outreach. We work very closely with PD. And then we certainly do a lot of small business development as well. We just started, Jackie Wettenhall from my team helped organize a Shop Local event, which you participated in.
Yeah.
Yeah, which we have a great core of owner-operators like Hay Stanford in downtown, like Russ Hollander, who's a legendary jeweler in downtown.
Yeah. With the kissing clock right outside his...
With the kissing clock.
Yeah.
I never knew it was called that.
I didn't either. He shared that with me recently. I was like, that's great. I like that it has a name now. Yeah.
And then, of course, we do a lot with public realm activation. So we're very well known, as you know, for Alive at 5, which we moved away from. Last year was our last year, but we've invested quite a bit in placemaking activities. So we actually have over 75 event nights in downtown.
Wow.
Over the course of the year, yeah. So we last week we had Bark in the Park. Kate Cook from my team does a wonderful job in managing that and producing that event. And so we have Bark in the Park, and we have Brews on Bedford coming up at the end of the month. And we'll have two nights, actually on June 14th. We start a farmer's market, but we also have arts and crafts twice a year where we shut down Bedford Street too, and have
that's a great event.
Yeah, vendors from throughout the
Love
region.
To see the makers, the creators out there.
Absolutely,
yeah, that's wonderful.
So those are the 4 broad functions, and again, the purpose of the organization is really to make sure downtown is a welcome, inviting environment. For all types, all visitors. We have a lot of corporate travelers that come to downtown, for business owners like yourself. Residents, we have a growing residential population, investors. So we think we play a very significant role there.
That's great. Well, as president of downtown, what do you see as your vision for the future of that area for downtown?
Yeah, it's interesting. You and I have talked about this quite a bit. It's downtown. Let's say when Alive at 5 was created, when it started. Alive at 5, it was created in the 90s because a lot of folks, downtown was built to encourage folks to drive in or commute, stay inside their workplaces, and then leave at night. There wasn't much of a nighttime economy and not much nightlife. So literally Alive at 5 was created so people would stay at night. And so we're seeing this. We've seen such a dramatic growth in residential development. People are actually living in downtown now. And that's wonderful. And what my vision is to take this to the next step, next level, dare I say, and make it a much more pedestrian, multimodal multimodal environment. We're working very closely with the city. You'll see that on Summer Street, below between Broad and Main Street.
Yeah.
What the city did a wonderful job with.
What a great project that was.
A great
Lower
project.
Summer Street. Yeah.
Yeah, it was to give, I sound like a urban policy wonk with this term, but essentially road was given a diet, right? It was narrowed, street sidewalks were widened, and very key amenities were installed, like additional lighting. And it was, the purpose of that was, again, giving a road a diet helps slow down traffic, calm traffic, and also gives more space for pedestrians and dining, outdoor dining as well, and activates the street as well. And so what we'd like to see over the next 3 to 5 years is to replicate that model throughout downtown. The city has secured quite a bit of financial resources to do that in downtown, replicate that model in downtown, like Atlantic Street and Broad. We're partnering with the city to but to create a master plan for Bedford Street as well.
Wonderful.
Because Bedford is so important to the heart of downtown.
Right.
So I think, certainly that is a major direction of the organization. Also designing programming to help activate the public realm. The public realm is a big function of ours. Public art is a huge priority of ours as well.
So for public art, we're looking at, you just put the pigs on the street, for instance, right?
How cool is that?
That looks great.
Lynn Colatrello, who's a legendary figure and
she's great
in the history of the organization, just retired, but she started the sculpture event, and we're going to keep going with that. And we have 26 fiberglass pigs that were painted, and Marissa Rogo from my team did a great job leading that effort, and they're being installed as we speak throughout downtown. Right. So PJ, the challenge is you got to get out to find all 26.
Well, I'll tell you, something that me and my kids love to do is whenever I remember we would go look at the ducks. Yeah. There were the people that were down there. The pigs will certainly go down and do a little walkthrough. It's fun. Yeah.
We've had Stuart Johnson, who was a very well-known sculptor, actually did the lifelike sculptures that you were talking about. And, I remember once, this was multiple years ago, and I was driving into work one day, and I saw a woman, an older woman, holding grocery bags, and it was right near the post office on Washington, and I stopped to make sure she could cross safely, and she wasn't moving. Heck, I work for the organization, and I fell for that. It was so lifelike. But public art is a huge part of this, and we want to build off the success that we've had in the past. We want to explore different media types of artwork, like projection mapping, certainly expanding murals. We do a lot with our lighting program. We do a winter lighting program. Yeah. If you've ever been in downtown.
Looks good. Bedford Street's all lit up. And
the Columbus Park oak, Ferguson oak.
One of the best trees in town, that Columbus Park one.
It's gorgeous. And so we'd like to expand that. We're going to expand that up and down Gray Rock next year. Good. Yeah, because we think, lighting is certainly attractive. It helps everyone feel safer and more engaged in downtown, but it helps connect streets as well. So there's a visual connection too. Nice. So we're going to expand to Gray Rock next year. So art's a big part of what we're doing. We're developing a multi-year plan to activate spaces too.
That's great.
We did, a couple of years ago, we did a public realm enhancement plan. We retained a firm called Stantec, and we identified 10 locations, parks, various elements of the public realm, which we would invest in. And again, this concept of going from good to great or great to excellent. And what we did is we actually invested in Kiwanis Park, and there were scattered large block planters in the heart of Kiwanis. And what we did was we rearranged those we grouped them together, and we built a seating area around that would encourage folks to sit and gather. Right. We put in a pollinator garden, 2 pollinator gardens there. We put in festoon lighting.
Right next to the palace.
Right next to the palace, right on Atlantic Street. And we did multiple murals. We work with Lauren Clayton, who's great artist.
Yeah, she did such a great job on that.
Great job. I wish I was as artistic like she was. And so that kind of project, we have 10 locations that we'd like to undertake over the next 3 to 5 years to improve. So that's part of my vision as well.
Nice.
And again, it's an attractive, well-maintained, welcoming combination of public art, an elite public realm landscape beautification,
right.
cutting edge design too about our streets, for our streets.
You touched on this a little bit with Lower Summer Street, Atlantic Street. This has been something I think about often, and I'm sure I'm not alone, but I would love to see Bedford Street a little more walkable. I don't know if there's been goals to shut it down, maybe a weekend thing, but I think something like that would be amazing. Just like how arts and crafts in Bedford is, right?
Sure.
Like that, I don't know. For me, that's a vision that I see down the road. Is that something that's ever been explored? Is that...
Yeah, the answer is absolutely. We've explored it with the city, and we've had discussions with the city. You know, I'm shifting around geographically, but we shut down Lower Summer Street last summer when the improvements there were completed. And I think we're going to do that multiple times this year as well.
Good.
And going to Bedford Street, we're certainly considering that as well. We do close it twice a year for arts and crafts. But I think there's definitely a discussion exploring the feasibility of doing that multiple times with Bedford Street as well.
That's great.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting. The World Cup is coming up. I geek out on sports. I'm just a sports geek. And the World Cup is coming to the North America in 2026. And we're thinking about maybe we can have a street festival based around that, and exploring different ways.
That would be tremendous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bedford Street's a big priority.
One thing I'm also manifesting is a minor league baseball team in Stamford.
Yeah.
So if you could help manifest that as well.
Yeah. Where would we put them, though?
I don't know.
Where would we put them?
Yeah.
Boyle Stadium? I mean,
Bedford Street? I don't know.
Okay. I'm not sure we have the space for that.
I don't know. But that's a goal I see down the line somewhere, too.
Sure.
But, with the World Cup next year, there's a lot of opportunity, though, too. Yeah. Being it's the proximity, too.
You know what's great about downtown is... You talk about sports, right? And, it's one thing that I'm talking with Annette Einhorn, who's on our team, and one of our expert on marketing and branding for downtown. We've been talking about different ways to push out branding ideas and marketing ideas. And what's interesting? We're having our annual meeting on June 18th. And we're going to having it at the Genery Auditorium at UConn. And we're focusing on this discussion of digital media and the cluster of digital media firms that are growing here. So obviously WWE is here, an icon in digital media.
The largest marketer there. Yeah, right.
It's incredible.
Right.
Major League Soccer just opened a production office in space they're renting from WWE. That's a huge deal considering how much soccer is growing, certainly nationwide and worldwide. ITV's in the South End, as you know. NBC is here. Stanford Studios is located in downtown. So I want to talk more about that. And Annette and I have been talking about how we push out that message a little more.
Right. Geez, I mean, you're mentioning some big names in entertainment too. Like huge. Stanford is such a hub for these large corporations. It's great, which in turn, I guess, brings the employees down to this area.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. And it's a huge draw for downtown. We're trying to leverage that as much as possible, but we should brag as much as we can. We're working with the city to do that.
That's fantastic. I guess, talking about corporations for a minute, there's certainly been a transformation in when you look at just how COVID affected everything, right? The back to the office. Some people are coming back full time. Some people, maybe it's 1 or 2 times a week. That certainly has an effect on the small businesses around Stamford Downtown.
It does.
I know there's been some initiatives in place to help, just continue to drive that traffic a little bit, whether it's dining programs or, evening activities. Talk more about that and what type of events you have seen be a success or down the road a little bit.
Yeah, let's go back to your initial point about COVID. Yes, we have come out on the other end of COVID, thankfully, but it certainly has lasting impacts on downtown. Sure. There's still many firms that allow their folks to work from home. Mm-hmm. And we typically see this two days a week, right? And so that folks working from home certainly has impacted what our traditional notion of the lunch hour, right? And so in the growth, what we've seen, and you can see this in downtown, literally is the growth of the use of delivery bikes.
Mm-hmm. And Bedford Street alone.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Right. And the need for delivery and takeout is really super important to our restaurants. We have over 110. We have 110 restaurants and bars in downtown.
110 restaurants and bars downtown. Yeah. Wow.
And that's incredible. And so, to support them, the delivery service element and the takeout element is a big part of this.
Right.
And we actually have to rethink the way we design streets to accommodate this, and accommodate Uber drivers and Grubhub drivers and folks. You'll see folks riding whiz bikes, delivery folks driving whiz bikes around. So, one thing that COVID, a silver lining of COVID, is we were able to implement something called streeteries. We work very closely with the city, Frank Batiste and Luke Buttonwieser from the city's Traffic, Transportation and Parking Bureau to create streeteries, which is converting on-street parking into dining and giving restaurants additional space.
Right.
And that was so critical during COVID when there was distance restrictions. And it stayed in the city, implemented that as a permanent fixture in downtown. So that's a key part. The key point, a part of the economy in downtown. Certainly the drive for complete streets is a huge part of it, is an offshoot of that. How do we make downtown more pedestrian friendly? And how do we accommodate all these modes of transportation?
Yep.
So that's an offshoot of COVID. We're doing more to help market our residents within corporate settings. We, again, Jackie Wettenhall from my team oversees what's called summer restaurant weeks and winter restaurant weeks. So
it's always a fun event.
Fixed price offering. Yeah.
Right. I always tell people use that to try new foods, get out, sample some menus.
And what's very cool is you're in downtown every day. You take a walk around downtown. We have such a great, culturally diverse, ethnically diverse,
it really is.
restaurant setting here. Tef is Ethiopian and Eritrean. We have Chakakwela, which I think I might be butchering that name.
Well, that was a good attempt because I couldn't even tell you if it was right or not. But what a beautiful restaurant, by the way.
Beautiful restaurant. It's on Clark Street, near the Bell Street Garage. It's traditional Albanian. Love it. I go there as much as I can. We have great Peruvian food at Fiesta.
Yeah.
And of course, me being mostly Irish, I love going to Tagin's and Tiernan's. And of course, Columbus Park Trattoria. And I'm not even doing justice to all of it.
Yeah.
Flinders Lane is Australian, right? So, that's another great part of downtown that we're going to try to do more to talk about.
Right. The dining scene in Stamford is fantastic. In downtown alone, I didn't realize there was 110 restaurants and bars. That's amazing.
Yeah.
I saw a stat recently. I think it was, I'm going to butcher it, but the amount of new residents in town over the last several years has just increased dramatically.
Yeah.
Which I think says a lot for the 110 restaurants and bars and just like the kind of livability downtown.
Sure.
How else are the residents kind of enjoying themselves downtown? Like what's down there for them?
Yeah. So, just to go back to your first point in that comment is, so I've been here almost 8 years. Mm-hmm. And what's interesting, since I've been here, the geography, Atlantic Station, just along Tresser Boulevard, where Tresser and Atlantic meet, about where Stanford Studios is now.
Right.
You have Atlantic Station has 2 towers. The Smith and Lifetime Living have opened, right? There's been such a heavy investment by George Comfort and Sons in what we know as the WWE building, right?
Yep.
And so that that block of buildings, like close to the train station, has transformed downtown. You know, I know Atlantic Station is home to Fresh & Co.
Great spot.
Oh, love it.
Yeah, good people, great food. And great breakfast sandwiches, actually.
Yeah, I've noticed. And then Rumble Boxing is coming to Atlantic Station soon. A golf lounge is coming. So, you know, we're seeing, you know, more experiential retail to engage the residents here. You know what, Dan Stalzenbach has done a great job here, and the Uragi family, who own the mall here. Yeah. You know, we were talking about padel. Right, which is a fad. It's kind of this mix of tennis and racquetball, which is growing. And there's a new padel court that's here in the mall, and there's pickleball America with Jay and Misha Pani, who run the business. Yeah. And soon there's going to be bowling, and there's arcades here at the mall.
Roller rink's
coming too. How cool is that? I remember the first time I was on roller skates. I was not very cool.
Think you could do it now?
Not very cool. Yeah, probably some injuries involved. Yeah, but you know, the mall is openly embracing dining and entertainment, and this experience the experience for our residents here in downtown. And what we're trying to do is engage the residents through the public realm as well. You know, you were talking about COVID before, and one thing that really suffered because of COVID is human connection. Right. You know, people working from home, and the amount of folks who just connect via Zoom, you know? And so what we're making a big priority, you're asking about my vision, big priority over the next 5 years is foster that human connection. Let's take our public realm, our public parks like Veterans Memorial Park and Kiwanis and Columbus and Latham and these parks, and find ways to activate them so we could get folks outside. And Mill River, you know, one of the great elements of downtown, we work very closely with Eddie Compton and her team at Mill River. Let's use these spaces and get people outside.
When I drive by Latham, I always say it wrong, by the way, Latham Park?
Latham Park, absolutely. Perfect. Named after a hero, a Stanford hero of World War I.
Is that right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Wonderful. Driving by 5 o'clock, there's so many families out in the park playing. There's the fitness classes out there. Yes. But I love the little bistro tables you have out there too. Just give people, you know, have your lunch there, relax there. I think it's a nice little touch.
What makes a place? You know, what makes a place? Do you need a huge investment, you know, in furniture and improvements and various things? Not necessarily. Like we were very proud of it's very common in cities to bring out bistro tables and chairs. And I love going out to Latham Park and seeing the folks who come down from Prospect Street or come from 4th Street, and come out and hang out with their families. And I love that. And we actually it's interesting, we have a chess program as well that we've started. And one great way to make folks connect and encourage that is through chess. Right. You know, we paint the benches at Latham Park as well. And, you know, those small things add up and make a place and draw folks together.
Right. That's amazing. You talked a little bit about some of the projects that were down the line. One of them that comes to mind is in front of Tutti Pazzi. Yeah. Sure. I think that's exciting over there. Kind of beautifying the area. Sure. Any other big projects that you're able to talk about now? Or?
Sure. You know, let's start with that one that you were just talking about. So Frank Batiste and Luke Buttonwees are from the city's traffic, transportation, and parking
Two great guys, by the way. Yeah. Very passionate about what they do. It's
very
wonderful.
Passionate. Yeah. We talk every day. They're huge proponents of downtown. And they are huge proponents of this complete streets concept. And what they've done is they've secured funding to help realign Prospect Street where it meets Forest, which can be difficult to navigate for pedestrians and even folks who are taking a right onto Forest or a left onto Forest. So Luke himself is actually leading the effort to redesign that. And as part of the project, there is a dining area right in front of Tutti Pazzi and 16 Handles and Kyushu Ramen. And what's going to happen there is there's been surface parking for many decades there, and it's going to be decommissioned and turned into a park. It's directly across the street from the Avon. It's going to be turned into a park and areas dedicated, permanent areas for dining. year-round dining. And
Wow.
we think the restaurants will benefit greatly.
Yeah.
It'll make it much more pedestrian-friendly. It'll certainly help beautify that intersection, help improve the setting for folks going to and from the Avon,
Yep.
which is such a huge contributor to downtown. So we think that'll start sometime late this summer.
Okay.
So it's a big project. So again,
Yeah.
realigning Forest with Prospect, and then essentially decommissioning the parking area there and make it a dining and park-like area,
that'll be
park-like
great.
setting. We're very excited that the RMS companies, or you can see it if you walk on Broad Street, has purchased and has actually deconstructed Burlington,
Yeah.
the Burlington Coat Site.
What a project.
Great project. And Burlington had relocated out of downtown.
Yep.
And so it's what this is going to be is, as you know, RMS is such a huge proponent of downtown. It's done such
Yeah,
great work in
right.
downtown with the Lloyd and with the residential building for UConn, serving UConn. And what they're going to do, and the Asher, they just opened up the
Right.
Asher
Yep.
on Broad. So what they are going to do is construct 280 units of residential housing right at the corner of Broad and Summer.
Yeah.
And I know they're moving very quickly with that project.
In a blink of an eye, it came down so quick.
Yeah, it looks like Mike Mulligan, in the steam engine right now. It's great.
Yep.
And then FD Rich has purchased 2 parcels at the corner of Broad and Gay Street, which is right near the Bedford Street garage,
Yep.
very close to Landmark Square where my office
Right.
is.
Yep.
And that's going to be a large multifamily development as well. Very exciting because those parcels have been vacant for so long.
Right.
And it'll help generate tremendous amount of demand and more residential growth, but demand for our businesses on Broad and Bedford as well. So very exciting. We think all those projects will start this summer.
Wow. Be a busy summer.
Be a very busy summer.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then there's very cool projects coming. FD Rich has purchased the historic property at 300 Main Street, which is the Union Trust building,
Yep.
the old bank building.
Right.
Yeah.
Across
and-
from the old city hall. Right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yep.
And the vision is to be a hotel, and it's going to be a high-end hotel. If I'm correct, it's going to be a Hilton Curio product.
Okay.
And be very exciting. Very exciting. What I've learned in my role here is we have such a strong hotel and accommodation economy here.
Well, I was just going to mention that. I mean, I think in the beginning I mentioned, 1.3 million visitors
absolutely.
to downtown. Where are they coming from? What's bringing them to downtown?
It's a mix. Oh, a couple of responses to that. Just corporate travel alone
Right.
is such a huge draw.
Yeah.
We have Indeed. We have WWE. We have Charter.
Right.
Charter Communications is headquartered here in
Right.
Stamford. We have such a strong presence of reinsurance companies like Gen Re here. And NBC Universal.
right.
So it
Yeah.
all draws a lot of corporate travel too as well.
Right.
But what's interesting, which is so unique about Stamford, is we will draw folks from the city and Westchester County, and folks who are looking for an urban feel, like our downtown, but that's very proximate to a suburban setting as well, where you have the Stamford Museum and Nature Center.
Right.
You have Mill River Park.
Yep.
You know, the Bartlett Arboretum, which is run so well by Tracy Kay. And you get that mix, and it's such an attraction here. And you have, of course, the waterfront down in the south end.
Right.
And so what we were trying to do a little more is to market that, come to downtown, spend a weekend, and look at the various things you can do here in the city while you're here.
Right.
And so I think that combination of urban and suburban proximity, their proximity to each other is a great advantage and draws folks.
That's great. Big events coming up this summer.
Sure.
Brews on Bedford, right around the corner.
Brews
by
on
the time
June
this
28th.
airs.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's always a fun one. Bark in the Park just finished. That's always fun.
What's interesting? My kids, I'm very fortunate. I have 2 wonderful kids who are now, one's in college, one's going to go to college next year. And they've been to Bark in the Park, and they try to convince me to adopt a dog, because there's the opportunity to adopt a dog
Yep.
while at Bark in the Park. And I haven't bent to that. Yeah, they haven't broken me about that. But man, it is such a cool event. And
It is.
you're walking downtown, you see so many dogs now.
Yeah.
And it's great. It's a great sign of a friendly downtown and a residential, the residential growth in downtown. Right. But you're talking about our farmers market is starting June 14th. And yes, Brews on Bedford is June 28th. Bark in the Park was last weekend. We also do a number of, placemaking scale events. Like we have trivia night. We do it every 2 weeks now.
With
Veterans
best
Memorial.
trivia ever, I believe. Right?
So much fun.
They're great.
But you know what? I showed how old I was. Like I couldn't answer any of the questions. But it's super fun. You can go to the Veterans Park and you can bring a picnic and hang out with your friends. It's a great way to connect after a busy day. You know what we did? We've started Street Beats, which is a busker-style music series that happens twice a week. We've expanded it to happen twice a week, and it rotates around 3 on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and it rotates to 3 locations in downtown. Veterans Memorial Park, actually more than 3. It's Veterans Memorial Park and Latham Park and the Ferguson, Columbus Park, and actually down by Atlantic Station as well. So we're greeting folks when they're coming home from the city.
So literally just musicians popping up on the corner and playing. Yeah.
I love it. And I love it. And we're trying to build the music scene here.
That's fantastic.
And then we have something exciting that you're working on. PJ is Summer Nights at Mill River Park.
Mill River Park, Summer in the Park, which will be announced likely by the time this airs. But with parachute concerts, Mill River Park, Stamford Downtown, and just some great partners. Yeah, we're excited for that.
Yeah.
So more on that soon.
Yeah, multi-week events. I know 3 weeks. Soft announcements about that, but more details to come.
More details to come, but we're excited for that too. I think that you could feel the community excitement around it too, because just with all the events you have, the residents are looking for things to do. They want to be active. They're coming home from long days and they want to be out there and do some things. So.
Sure. And then we're not the only ones producing events too. Like I know that you were working with Parachute and with the folks at Mill River, and we're being supportive of that as well.
Absolutely.
We're investing as well because, we see Mill River is such an integral part of downtown. But here, the folks here at Stamford Town Center, Dan Stolzenbach, they do an annual block party, which is super fun.
Yeah, that's always a great one.
I know that he partnered with the folks at Stephanie and the folks at Stamford Moms with a children's event, a block party last weekend.
Last weekend, the Bluey event. Bluey might be the biggest star that has come to Stamford.
Yeah, big time.
Mayhem. It was crazy. It was amazing.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, the Stamford Town Center has been doing some really fun events.
Very cool.
There Thursday night thrills down in the pit. The block party, some outdoor. The restaurants are getting involved in some things. So it's been fun to watch that.
Yeah. Well, I encourage everyone to come and engage here. A lot of very cool programming here at the mall.
Definitely.
Again, I can't say enough about it. Like I got a taste of pickleball.
Right. You played in that celebrity event.
I did.
Yeah.
Someone called me a celebrity. I was like, whoa, it's gone straight to my head. But there's a celebrity event over the winter with UConn. Some former UConn football players.
Yeah.
And UConn has a growing a pickleball team up at stores, and they came down here and they played in a competition with schools throughout the region. Harvard was here.
That was fun to watch.
Rhode Island and Maine. And I want to grow that. I want to definitely grow that.
Right. All right, we're going to wrap up here. I do just want to wrap up with one forward-thinking question. I mean, sitting here today, let's go 5 years forward, right? And if you're looking back, what do you hope to look back on and kind of see as the moments that took Stamford Downtown to the next level?
Yeah, sure. You know what I want people to say is when they're hanging out at home on a Saturday morning to say, what am I going to do today? I want them just to say, we're going to go to downtown and see what's going on. We don't even need a plan per se, but we're going to go and we're going to grab a coffee, and then we're going to go to the Avon Theater and we're grab a movie. Then we're going to go grab lunch, and then we're going to go to take a walk around Mill River, and we're going to go and maybe we'll go play chess. Something, just like that. And then and I want to, we're certainly going to see even more residential growth over the next few years. And I want people to be able to walk and say, we're going to walk to downtown. We're going to walk the streets, and we're going to bring the kids,
right?
And we're going to bring the dog and our pets to downtown, and I know it sounds, odd. I think about it all the time, but I want people to know that this is a destination for all families, all folks from different types of backgrounds, and that they know this is a destination that they come to at any time, at any time, any season, any time of day, and they can be engaged and find something fun to do. That's my vision that we're building to. Like, they're going to take a walk around and see a very interesting piece of art, or come and enjoy our parks and come and see what we do for beautifying the parks, or just give a pal a call and say, let's go down and meet at Hop and Vine, which is new to Spring Street. And I think that's my vision, that this is the destination, not just from folks that are living in Stamford, but folks from Westchester, folks from Greenwich, heck, folks from Danbury. What are we going to do this weekend? Let's go to Stamford. Downtown, we can always find something to do. And that's my vision.
I'm all for it. Yeah. Sounds wonderful.
And maybe there's minor league baseball, PJ. You're gonna have to bring that. Yeah.
There you go. I like it. Nice.
And come see some sculpture.
There you go. Where can people follow Stamford Downtown?
Yeah, sure. So we have our website, stanford-downtown.com, and we have all our digital media platforms there. We actually redid our website recently. And so there's a lot of information. Kay Cook from my team does a lot to push out information through our social media feeds. Annette Einhorn, who does a lot of our marketing production, pushes out a ton of information out as well. So please follow us, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, on our website as well. And we're gonna be exploring how we can expand our social media reach. And if I can, I want to mention a few other members of my team.
Yeah.
I want to give everyone a shout out. Cheryl Vukelich, who is actually taking the lead on. She oversees our pollinators. We work very closely with the pollinator pathway of Stamford to help beautify downtown. She just led an effort to replant and redesign a new garden outside Yukon, actually, where Yukon meets Broad Street. And so she's done a great job of that. She's doing more tactical, more artwork. She's leading more artwork herself that you'll see pop up over the summer.
Great.
And then Mike Little, who's new to our team, our newest member of our team, you'll see him out and about with our ambassadors and working very closely with Domus and Pacific House. And I encourage you to come out. As a very gregarious, outgoing guy. I hope everyone can get to meet him as well. And so, so there's a lot going on.
Team.
And it's a great team. Yeah, very proud of them.
Awesome. Well, Michael Moore, thank you, sir.
PJ,
appreciate you being guest number 2.
I appreciate it. I love it. It's great to be part of Hey Stanford.
Thank you.